What happens to Canadian housing when Canada is in a recession? Does it crash and burn? Well, in this video, we're going to go through an Oxford economics study in Better Dwelling, and they say we're in for a big dip in housing. But stay tuned till the end, because that dip is not going to erase the COVID gains. And where it lands, I think is going to surprise you. So let's get to it. Hi everybody, my name is Connie Sarvanandan. I'm a real estate agent and investor here in Toronto and the GTA, and let's get straight to the article. Okay, so this is the article and it's from Better Dwelling, and the title is Canada is heading for a hard landing. Real estate prices to drop 30% according to Oxford Economics. And if you go into the first paragraph, what it says is, hey Canadians, be prepared for a hard landing. So Oxford Economics is warning their investors that because of Canada's high debt load, elevated inflation, and rising interest rates, we're going to be coming in for a hard landing. So Canadians are carrying a lot of debt. Inflation continues to be a problem, and as a result, interest rates keep rising as they try to bring inflation down. So because of all of that, Oxford Economics is saying that they are expecting home prices to drop 30% from the peak, which was basically February. Okay, so the next paragraph says Canadians should prepare for a hard landing. And what the paragraph does is Oxford Economics explains what's the difference between a hard landing and a soft landing. So a hard landing, it happens when there's a recession after a rate adjustment when we're trying to calm down inflation, which is what they are expecting. And they're saying the difference between a hard landing and a soft landing is a soft landing is when rates rise, but the economy only slows down. It doesn't actually go into a recession. So according to Oxford Economics, they are expecting a moderate recession, and they're expecting that to kick off in Q4 of 2022. And again, they are attributing that to rate hikes, high inflation, and weak global demand. The end of this section, they go into where they see this moderate recession happening, and they're saying it's going to happen sometime between Q4 2022 and Q2 2023. And they explain why it's considered moderate, because they're saying we're now past the point of a soft landing, but we're also past the point of a mild rough patch. So they're considering this an overall moderate recession, but because it's a recession, that is considered a hard landing. If you're finding value in these videos, please like and subscribe. It really helps us out, and it lets me know what kind of videos are valuable to you. And if you have any real estate needs, feel free to call, text, email, or WhatsApp, and we'll be sure to take care of you. And if you want to talk to me directly, I'll put my calendar link below. And finally, if you have any comments, good or bad, we love hearing them. So please make a comment below. So the next paragraph is focused on Canada's debt load. So it says Canada's supersized debt to weigh on the recovery. So what it says is Canadian households are too highly indebted to mount a flexible response. So they said that we have supersized debt loads, and any small increase to interest rates really affects disposable income overall. And so what they're saying is that they're forecasting that 8.2% of disposable income will be used to carry a mortgage in Q2 2023 versus 6.5%, which is what it is right now. And that's higher than it's been since 2009. The other thing that they said is we've always had historically high household debt, and we've also had high housing prices. So that makes our economy much more sensitive to interest rate hikes. And so they're saying that, what we're going to be seeing is that we're going to see an increase in debt service because of the increase in interest rates. And then on top of that, our real income is being reduced because of inflation. So on the one hand, you have interest rates rising, so our borrowing costs are going up. But then you also have really high interest rates So as a result of that, our buying power is going down. So the combination of the two is making us, we don't have as much disposable income. And so we are going to be, first of all, deleveraging, so getting rid of stuff that we can't afford. And then on top of that, what we're seeing is that the average mortgage price will rise on average $162 or 11.3% to $1,590 a month. And they're saying this is going to happen by Q2 2023. So it's a significant increase. But here's the thing that they say. It's still lower than the average price of a one bedroom. So it's not like, you can get rid of your mortgage and then go rent something that's going to be cheaper. So there's not really any relief for homeowners at this point. Okay, so the last paragraph really deals with what's happening with the housing market. The title of the paragraph is Canadian real estate prices fell over 30% from last year. So what Oxford Economics is basically saying is they are expecting a 30% drop from the high of the market, which was February. Now, what they are saying is that 30% drop is not going to make up what the gains were over all of COVID, which is about 50%. So what they are expecting is the prices will drop back to about December 2020 or end of 2020. So remember, the pandemic started in Q1 of 2020, and then it was a weird time because real estate kind of stopped, and then it started building, and then it grew over all of the pandemic. So they are expecting the prices to fall back to the end of 2020, which is about 7% higher than it was pre-pandemic. So there was still growth. So what you are going to see is anybody who bought recently, yes, those values are going to drop, but the values are going to drop to about end of 2020 level. So that's what they're predicting. And what else they say in this paragraph is basically homeowners are not going to necessarily default because of all of this, because they actually need a place to live, and moving to rentals isn't going to be a cheaper option. So they're going to try and figure out the best way to try and stay in their homes, even if they bought at elevated prices. Now, where they say this is really going to affect people are investors, because investors now have a much smaller pool of buyers, and trying to make up for that loss for investors is going to be much tougher because it's not like they are living in those homes. So that's the article overall. What do I think about all of this? So I would agree with this article on a few fronts. So first of all, when it comes to homeowners versus investors, I would definitely agree. As a homeowner, if you have a home right now, moving to a rental is not going to save you any money. The rental market is really active and very expensive. So as a homeowner, even with these rising interest rates, you're going to try and do everything in your power to try and stay in your home. So whether that's extending your term, talking to your bank, you're going to do everything you can to stay in your home. So I would agree with that part. And I would also agree with the investor part of it. As an investor, I actually did buy a property this year, and we did hit our trigger rate, which means that we had a mortgage payment that was principal and interest. And as the interest rate started rising, we actually hit a point where all of our payment was going to interest. So we actually had to increase our mortgage payment. So as an investor, do I have to sell that property? I actually don't, because I purchased it. When I purchased it, I got a really good price. And I actually did pay 2020 pricing for it. And we bought it in a great neighborhood with a great rental pool. So we knew that we were always going to have renters available. And then the third thing is, and probably the most important, is this is a long-term hold for us. So we had planned for rising interest rates. We had planned to keep it a long time, and we purchased it at a price that we knew that even if the market went down, we would still be okay. So we're okay, but there are going to be other investors that are going to be struggling, because the big thing about buying investment properties, especially if you're renting them out in Ontario, Ontario is even if your costs are going up, you can't pass those costs on to your tenants. So you may be running a loss if you didn't plan accordingly. So I definitely think investors are going to be affected the most in all of this. Now, what do I think you should do if you have to buy or sell in this marketplace? The market always continues to move, whether it's a divorce, whether it's a job transfer, or whether it's a death in the family, there's always market movement. I would say if you have to sell, then, you have to sell. And there are great houses in Toronto and the GTA that are going in multiple offers if you're in a great location and everything else. If you are one of those houses that's not like that, then you just have to be really realistic with what you can get right now based on the market conditions. And the same would go for buyers. There are always going to be opportunities in every marketplace, and there's probably more opportunities now than ever before. So when I bought at the beginning of this year, everybody would have thought that I bought something that in a crazy market. No, I bought something where I was watching the market and knew that I was going to pay 2020 market pricing because it was a home that had some challenges that nobody else wanted. And the challenges were, they had tenants paying under market. It had some issues with some of its grading, things like that. But it was such a good bargain that I knew that we can fix some of those, and we could also cover off the undermarket tenants without issues. So there are definitely opportunities out there, and as a buyer, you just need to seek them out. And if you're planning on staying in that property for a long time, then make sure you're paying the appropriate price, and make sure you also plan for what could happen in the future, because the more you know, the better your home buying or selling experience will be. So thank you for watching. I always appreciate it, and I love hearing your comments, good or bad, in the comments below. And if you have any real estate needs in Toronto or the GTA, feel free to call, text, email, or WhatsApp. Or if you want to talk to me directly, my calendar link is below. We'll talk to you soon.